Nvidia stock is on an epic run, and for that, it has earned my stock of the day status. Nvidia stock has surged 21% in April. The stock is on an eye-popping 11-day winning streak. I think everything that Taiwan Semiconductor said today on booming demand for AI chips underscores this rally in Nvidia and why it can continue. Keep in mind, TSMC produces Nvidia chips. So if it's seeing strong demand, chances are Nvidia is having another bang-up quarter as I stand here and talk to you all out there. But let's put this to the opening bid roundtable. Tom Hayes, Brooke DePalma, Inez Frey. Inez, coming back to you. You and I have been covering Nvidia for eons, and we've seen a lot of different types of rallies in Nvidia, but a lot of folks that reach out to me on X have really panned I should say, this Nvidia rally as a bunch of short covering and not really based on fundamentals. And I've been surprised to hear that take.
Yeah, especially because we have seen semiconductors really that have been leading this recovery. And I've just been taking a look at Nvidia over the last 11 days, up 20% over the last 11 days. And then you have Jensen Huang, who has been also making a case for more cooperation with China. If there's anybody that can do that, it's him, because he's highly charismatic, he's highly diplomatic, and it's important for the entire space. And just if you look at also Nvidia and its investments across the industry. I mean, the investments in the models, you've got Anthropic, OpenAI, in compute, in CoreWeave, in chip design, in Intel, which, by the way, has been having its own run as well. So across the board, this seems to be still the stock to be in when it comes to this to the chip space, and just the chip space in general, the on fire rally that we've seen in the space.
Brooke, and it's not just, like Inez just mentioned, it's not just this Nvidia rally. We've seen more epic gains for the likes of Micron, SanDisk. These are some of the most active ticker pages on our platform, not only, I would say, all year, but most especially the past month.
Yeah, especially over the past month and really over the past maybe 10 days as investors regained this risk on sentiment, this risk on appetite. We saw Microsoft up about 5% alone on Tuesday, up about 16.5% since April 1st. We also saw Tesla up more than 7.6% on Tuesday alone. And these companies are just soaring based on the fact that investors are willing to take on this risk, willing to regain exposure to this part of the market, when there was fear, especially kicking off the year, about where exactly we were. In November, December, we were talking about bubble risk. It seems like investors are willing and ready to get their feet wet again and willing to jump in, especially, like you said, when you hear from a company CEO of Taiwan Semiconductor saying that AI demand is real, it's there, it's happening. And Brian, to go a bit left field on here, but Reese Witherspoon actually posted a video on Instagram saying, is now the time to start learning more about AI?
She's like, I love Reese. She's like 2 years late, though.
I mean, she just goes to show that this is completely mainstream now, and this is something that investors are saying, okay, we need to be in this for the long haul.
Well, Tom, let me get over to you. I know you're a big Reese Witherspoon fan. I mean, if she's coming out here bullish on AI, I mean, you got to ride this Nvidia rally, right?
And Legally Blonde, absolutely. Listen, and it's a law of large numbers. You got a $5 trillion market cap. What do we have? GDP about 30 trillion. So, give or take 20% of GDP. It's trading at 50 times free cash flow. There's no question demand is going up. But while everyone's been focused on Nvidia, which has done nothing for 9 months, Intel's up 200%. And we couldn't give it away when it was at $19. No one wanted the stock. We made a big bet on that, up 200%. It's going to $100. You want to bet on Lip-Bu-Tan. He had a 68 bagger at Cadence Design Systems, and that's where the growth is. As far as Nvidia, their business model relies on the kindness of strangers, and that's Taiwan Semiconductor's capacity to deliver against that demand. Last quarter was a step in the right direction. If you remember, they had been capped at about $4 billion of revenue growth per quarter. Nvidia had been, because of the supply chain bottleneck with Taiwan Semiconductor. That seemed to open up a little bit. The question is how much of that is priced in. I think on this reflex rally, you are going to get a little bit more running room on tech, because tech was beaten down so badly. So you want to watch the 212 level. If Nvidia can break through that, maybe it's got a little bit more run for the next few weeks.
Nvidia is still a fascinating example of how to accelerate growth at scale. The company prints a new quarter that makes the prior one appear tiny each time analysts think the tail is priced in. I can't quit purchasing the shares for the following 3 reasons. First, the growth trajectory continues to accelerate rather than slow down. At scale, most firms slow down. The reverse is being done by Nvidia. In Q2 FY 2026, revenue increased 55.6% year-over-year. In Q3, it increased 62.49%. In Q4, it increased 73.21%. And in the last quarter, it reached $68.12 billion. Revenue for the entire year of FY 2026 was $215.93 billion, a 65.47% increase over the previous year. For the entire year, net income increased by 64.75% to $120.06 billion. Net income for the fourth quarter alone increased by 94.47% to $42.96 billion. This is further supported by the forward guidance. Due to export limitations, China data center compute revenue is specifically excluded from Q1 FY 2027 revenue, which is forecasted at roughly $78.0 billion, indicating significant year-over-year growth against Q1 FY 2026's base. Even with one cylinder missing, the growth engine continues to run. Reason 2. With each cycle of architecture, the moat gets deeper. The structural lock-in that Nvidia is constructing is noteworthy. At $62.31 billion, data center revenue accounted for 91.5% of Q4 sales and was up 75% from the previous year. Within that, NVLink Fabric's increased integration into hyperscaler buildouts drove data center networking's 263% year-over-year growth to $10.98 billion in Q4 alone. According to CEO Jensen Huang, Blackwell is currently being deployed by AWS, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, and Oracle, which are also among the first to use Vera Rubin-based instances. A multi-year collaboration involving millions of Blackwell and Rubin GPUs was agreed upon by Meta Platforms. By 2030, CoreWeave is working with partners to accelerate 5 gigawatts of AI factories. Compared to Blackwell, the Vera Rubin platform claims to reduce inference token costs by up to 10 times. Instead of offering rivals an opportunity to bridge the gap, each architecture cycle increases the lead. Reason 3. Despite appearances, the valuation is more reasonable. The real multiples provide an alternative narrative. With a company producing $96.57 billion in free cash flow for FY 2026, up 58.7% year-over-year, Nvidia is trading at a forward PE of 23x. Free cash flow alone increased 124.42% year-over-year to $34.90 billion in Q4. The growth rate more than justifies the earnings multiple, as indicated by the PEG ratio of 0.769. In FY 2026, the business gave back $41.1 billion to shareholders, and it still has $58.5 billion in share repurchase authorization. The stock has increased by 1,152.9% over the last 5 years and 77.29% during the last year. The stock is still 26% below its 52-week high of $212.17 at $198.87, and 95% of analysts consider it optimistic, with a consensus target of $268.22. The thesis hasn't changed despite the risk. It's worth watching. China export limitations are real. Nvidia's Q1 FY 2027 forecast already anticipates zero China data center compute revenue, and it took a $4.5 billion H20 charge in Q1 FY 2026. However, the company is projecting $78 billion in Q1 FY 2027 sales, indicating to analysts that demand outside of China is making up the difference. Agentic AI adoption is still in its early stages. The Vera Rubin platform has not yet reached its revenue ramp, and according to Huang, a agentic AI inflection point has only recently occurred. Midway through the build-out, the companies using Nvidia's stack are locked into the design. The moat grows with each quarter that GPU capacity is sold out and with new partnership announcement. The volatility of Nvidia in recent months is undeniable. As an example, the stock started to decline in late October after rising 1,320% since early 2023. Fairweather investors became anxious as concerns about growing competition and uncertainty about the future deployment of artificial intelligence, AI, gained root. The chipmaker lost almost 20% of its value as the stock gradually declined over the next 5 months. Investors can learn a valuable lesson from the fact that opinion has shifted and Nvidia stock has experienced an unprecedented event in the company's illustrious history. Both the Nasdaq Composite and the S&P 500 closed at all-time highs on Wednesday. Since the company's initial public offering, IPO, on January 22, 1999, Nvidia has had the greatest string of consecutive daily advances in history, rising for its 11th straight trading day. Although it would be simple to ignore this stretch, Nvidia hasn't accomplished it in over 25 years, making it an extremely uncommon accomplishment. With the rise on Wednesday, the stock price is up less than 4% from a new record high and more than 14% in around 2 weeks. However, identifying the tailwinds that ultimately caused the stock to rise again is not difficult. According to certain market analysts, investors have been searching for AI-related companies with higher growth potential, but Nvidia's performance stands out and speaks for itself. Nvidia produced record sales of $68 billion, up 73% year-over-year, and adjusted earnings per share, EPS, of $1.62, up 82% during its fiscal 2026 fourth quarter that concluded on January 26th. The management is aiming for Q1 revenue of $78 billion, which would indicate a 77% increase in year-over-year growth. There's more. CEO Jensen Huang stated that Nvidia anticipated selling at least $1 trillion worth of Blackwell and Vera Rubin AI chips between now and 2027 during the GPU Technology Conference, GTC, last month. Given that the corporation made $216 billion in revenue the previous year, $1 trillion in revenue would indicate far larger sales over the following 2 years. And lastly, the valuation of Nvidia. At the moment, the stock is trading for almost 41 times its earnings. That may sound expensive, but compared to the average multiple of 72 it has traded at over the previous 3 years, it is a far cry. The price would rise 78% to almost $353, or a market capitalization of $8.5 trillion, if the stock simply went back to its 3-year average. The lesson here is that investors should be cautious about selling a firm based solely on changes in the stock price because the stock price does not necessarily represent the fundamentals. Finding a business that can match Nvidia's sales and earnings growth would be challenging from an investment perspective. Nvidia has been working on this framing for years. Although Jensen has referred to data centers as AI factories on several earnings calls, the Dwarkesh presence clarified the idea. Tokens, the unit of AI output that powers all models, agents, and applications, are produced from each kilowatt of power entering a Blackwell rack. The metaphor is supported by the numbers. In Q4 of FY 2026, data center sales reached $62.3 billion, a 75% increase over the previous year. Driven by the NVLink fabric ramp, networking, the connecting tissue of those factories, grew 263% year-over-year to almost $11 billion. The quarter's free cash flow was $34.9 billion, up 124% over the previous year. Nvidia has almost $100 billion in supply procurement commitments for the entire year. When larger supply chain responsibilities are taken into account, Semi-Analysis reports a value closer to $250 billion. Why fears about commoditization are wrong. Nvidia's negative case typically involves models becoming more affordable, token prices declining, and demand softening. Jensen has a structural counter. He contends that even if the price per token decreases, the overall volume of tokens will increase due to the exponential growth in AI agents and tool users. He specifically targeted engineering software, forecasting a skyrocket in demand for programs like Synopsys Design Compiler, as fleets of agents support engineers in their unprecedented exploration of design space. His disclaimer: the agent's lack of proficiency with their tools is the reason it hasn't occurred yet. This is directionally supported by the earnings calls. In Q1 of FY 2026, Microsoft processed more than 100 trillion tokens, a 5-fold increase from the previous year. That demand is further compounded by reasoning models. The token generation amount, the number of tokens reasoning goes through, is 100, 1,000 times more than a one-shot chatbot, Jensen clarified. According to Jensen's description on the podcast, his ability to unite the whole supply chain around his vision is his true strength. Because they believe Nvidia can absorb supply and sell it downstream, suppliers make special investments for him. His yearly GTC keynote addresses serve as education to assist the supply chain in understanding the direction of artificial intelligence. He was open about the boundaries, saying that the instantaneous demand is greater than the supply upstream and downstream at some level. It's important to keep an eye on that short-term restriction. However, the market is obviously wagering that the manufacturing model holds for a business that is projected to generate about $78 billion in Q1 FY 2027 sales, while holding 57 buy ratings and a 268 analyst consensus target. The machine in the middle usually prevails when tokens continue to increase in value and electrons continue to become less expensive. Don't forget to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your input helps create a more knowledgeable community where we can all learn and grow together in the world of investing. Stay up to date with the latest market trends, insights, and key updates by subscribing to Investing Tutorial. We're here to help you make smarter investment decisions and stay ahead of the curve.
Thought here as we seem to be just taking a little bit of a breather now, KG, off the back of what we saw yesterday. Perhaps no surprises, given some of the people that I've been talking to had been saying that they were cautiously optimistic about this rally, but also the likelihood that we were perhaps going to pause or at least drift in the short term, given the run-up that we'd seen. Just walk us through your take on the market performance this morning.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, if you kind of look at this move to the upside over the last couple of trading sessions, we've started to see this dispersion trade coming back into effect, and you'll start hearing about that a lot more. And what that really just represents is a concentration of positioning in a small segment of the market, say it's the Mag 7 or technology stocks, and then you have pretty much a fading of some of the other sectors in this market. And that's exactly what has occurred, where you started seeing a flurry of dollars going into communication services, financials for the most part, as well as technology stocks. And then you also saw maybe a de-risking one when it came to the defense stocks. And that's really driving us higher because of the market cap weighted average of the S&P 500. Today, it's a little bit of a different reaction. You are seeing a broadening of the market, but a selling when it comes to technology stocks, like, or even if you're just looking at the Mag 7 as a whole here. And that's really what's kind of creating maybe some of this intraday churn when it comes to the market. Now, it's not bad. We're pretty much flat on the session, trying to hold this 70-15 level. Let's see how we actually resolve this. But that's really what's driving this market. If you also look at another component that is catching some positive flows this morning, it is going to be high yield dividend stocks. So if you're looking at telecoms like T-Mobile, Verizon, or even AT&T, they are also seeing some buyers stepping in here. Now, that might be a rate play, or that might be something a little bit more long-term or long-lasting here. So a pullback would not be out of the norm. Obviously, this is actually a very unique bounce off of the lows and the aggression that we have seen for the price action. But I think we also have maybe that geopolitical risk still in the background that we have to be mindful of. Everybody's been really pricing in that we're going to see a resolution over the next 2 weeks. You know, Sam, we've been talking about the next 2 weeks over the last month and a half or so. But you are seeing crude oil move to the upside, and that's because Iran actually did speak with some Pakistani mediators and stated that the U.S. has to comply to Iran's demands. And so that's a little bit of pushback from the narrative that we've heard over the last 2 or 3 days, where it seems like there's a lot more optimism, which is once again driving energy prices higher, moving equity prices lower, seeing a little bit more of a rotation back into those defense names, as well as the high yield dividend stocks, which usually is a safe haven for uncertain times.